This is the pro playbook for Skye on Breeze I'll be covering in this video. I made this based on watching Xeppa play Skye on Breeze last week. Unlike previous videos, I'm just going to be demonstrating the playbook in a custom game, not creating the playbook in the video, so keep watching for that. Starting on attacker side at A, there's two flashes that we can do. The first one goes around bricks like this, and the second one goes to the right behind the wall like that. The first one stops anybody from pushing up this way, which is pretty common now to be aggressive in this area. And the other flash helps to clear close, right, or left. There's usually a Viper wall here, and so if the Viper wall is up, the flash that lands here will let us know if there's anybody in this immediate area, because there's a wall coming across this way. The next thing that we want to do after flashing, or that Xeppa does, is he scales up this way. And from here, we can take orb if we want, or we can dodge. And the pathing for the dodge is to clear this corner, and we can jump through the wall if we want and see if there's anybody there. If the defenders have pushed up into this area in shops, we have to be careful that there's nobody on the right side and there's not a peek off me or something like that here that's being set up here. You can get also mollied, mated, and all kinds of stuff over here, so it's a little bit difficult to take without util. So it's kind of ideal if somebody can throw some util to stop the push from the defenders. After we do our flashes and our dog, then we're scaling onto site. We're helping to secure the plant. We saw in the VOD, Xeppa came over here and was looking this way to catch anybody off guard potentially, I think. Going over to the B site, there's also two flashes that we can do. The first one, we come over here and we flash like this, and that flashes this angle. And the other flash that we do is around the bricks behind the pillar over there, and that flashes over here. For dogging, we can dog from the same place. Generally, Xeppa is dogging to the left side, so we check right over here, and then we make sure to check behind the boxes there. When we're scaling into B site, there's two pathings that we saw Xeppa take. The first one being going through this way, and then playing in this corner, and the other pathing that we saw was this way. And we play kind of in this area. The jump up boxes here are definitely a great initial position to get 1 or 2 bullets off on people coming into sight before you hop down and then take a secondary position. So you can do that as well. Starting at mid, there's 3 flashes that we can do. The first one is to flash into doors like this, to check if there's anybody doors, which there potentially will be. The next 2 flashes are after you've scaled up the pillar. So scale up this way. And from cover, we can flash behind the Viper wall like this. And that helps us check whether there's anybody watching from doors or A site, and also it flashes anybody that has pushed out to this area, which defenders can now do pretty easily. The other flash that we can do from the safety of the pillar is just over the top of the wall like that, and that can help our teammate who's scaling up. When scaling up the boxes here, don't forget to hold crouch so that your head doesn't get exposed. For the last box, jump up and let go of crouch, and then be ready to take a fight. There was one round where mid-round the team decided to rotate back to A, and so the rotation pathing was to go through mid like this. And over here at the pillar, there's typically a Viper wall, right? So we have to be careful when we go through and use some util. Just to check if there's anybody there before you go through, but you should be watching when you go through. And so after they rotated onto A, which they knew was clear, they actually planted over here and held aggressive angles. For defense, we're mostly starting at A site, and our most common flash is just to flash shops here. You can do it like this, or you can do it like this. Either is fine. If there's nobody there, often Xeppa would rotate towards, or at least shift towards mid doors. You can flash out here in front of the pillar like that to see if there's anybody in this immediate area and see whether it's clear. More likely than not, it won't be clear. So if we flash in front of pillar, we can move out with a little bit of safety. So if we flash shops and we're getting pushed really hard, then we can fall back to this position. This position is really good. We can flash again for info to make sure they're not faking. We can also dodge from here for info to see whether they're faking. And if we get pushed even more, we can fall back even further to over here, where we can fight anybody coming up the door or coming around from main and we can fight anybody that's coming out from default. When the enemy puts up their wall, their Viper wall, which goes across the site,
Here.
we can also flash through for our teammate playing at the crab pyramid, it's called now. If we manage to take control of A shops early round and we manage to get a smoke over here, we can cross over to this side to play a crossfire with our team. And this is a pretty strong position. And then we can further contest shops by flashing over the top, or you can flash around the corner. There are also two flashes that you can do from this position. One of them is just to flash the Valoplant over here. And the other, you can flash like this, or you can flash over the top for anybody coming from mid doors. If you think somebody's going to peek you, I also found that if you flash against this, these pipes pretty perpendicularly, only with a slight angle to the side, you can get your bird to stay there for a really long time, and that can give you some playability around anybody that's trying to push around this area. You can also do it this way. And sometimes it gets stuck on the end, which is kind of useful as well. If we want to change up our positioning, we can also play over at stairs. Over here. And this is a pretty strong position for anybody trying to push back of the pyramids. The other way to play A if they're contesting mid a lot is to start mid doors, and we typically want to flash around here once the barrier goes down, so we're going to be pushing up a little bit and then flashing over there to see if there's anybody fighting mid. If we think there might be somebody hiding mid over here or over here, to try to catch timing when people rotate, we can try to find if they're there by using this flash. The timing is pretty tight with the new bird duration. It should pop just over here, and you should be able to flash anybody hiding around these two areas. From mid doors, if your teammates have already secured B, as in there's somebody securing elbow, there's somebody securing B main, and you're pretty sure they're A, and there is a smoke here, you can try crossing to this side to set up a crossfire with somebody mid doors. We also saw Xeppa dodge from this position to kind of check if anybody was still mid when we're not sure mid round, and then we also saw Xeppa use his ult from here, and this is really great because obviously the ult goes to the closest three people, so it'll help us know whether there's still somebody mid if we have to rotate to B. And if the ult doesn't catch anybody mid, then we can just run straight across. If we're playing mid doors and there's a Viper orb here that gets put up, then we're being denied information, and the flash is not really going to help us that much because we don't know whether they're here or they've pushed up past the pillar already. So in that case, it's best to wait a few seconds and check if they're pushing up mid. That can help your teammates at B and also let your team know whether they need to rotate. So let's say you're playing A and then the enemy team decided to go B and we need to play retake. There's two ways that we can path to go to retake B. The first one is obviously through mid, and the other one is through CT where it's safe. If we're going safe, we're basically going this way, going all the way around. And when we get to these arches to McDonald's, play from the left side or we can play from the right side. If we play from the right side, we can dog like this, and we can dog out this way. You can check this corner and see if there's anybody playing around the pillar. We can also dog outside, see if there's anybody playing there. If we're playing from the left side, then we can try to scale up to wall. There's usually a Viper wall here or orb or something like that, which blocks vision. So we can scale up to the wall. From the wall, we can look to take a fight backside if they're peeking us, or we can look to take a fight over here. We can also dog from the wall, see if there's anybody pillar or see if we see anybody here. We were playing A and then we need to rotate to B to play retake. We need to be careful if anybody that's lurking mid, so we should try to clear that out first, but if it's clear, then we can scale up, and there could be people anywhere along this wall from elbow, and also somebody standing up there, somebody down below, somebody standing out at all of these angles really, so we need to be careful of all of these. But essentially, the next position that we're trying to get to is over here, so we're under some cover from tunnel and also elbow, and from here we can also use our flashes to check if there's anybody elbow and to flash tunnel so that we can get into position to start our retake. Another position that we can take if we're sure that elbow is clear is just outside of tunnel, and we can dog here to get more range on our dog. We check left, right, check the corner, and then we can kind of check at backside a little bit as well, but we can check behind the pillar. Moving on to B defense. We almost never play B defense. We mostly play A. I think probably because B is the easier site to retake. When we do play here, it's probably because we have some kind of specific plan or setup that we want to do with our teammates, or a situation where we have a read on the enemy. There's two basic things that we want to do here from this position in tunnel where we start. The first one is to either take control of elbow, or the second is to take control of mid pillar. If we want to take elbow, the first thing that we can do is flash and check if anybody's there. That'll let us know if it's a B hit, because often people will still be sitting in elbow. And after we've done that, we can scale up and see if we can get a fight here. If we want to contest this corner, better to do it with utility. We have to use some kind of utility for it, because there's a very high likelihood that somebody will be there. So preferably you flash for a teammate, you dog for a teammate, or they flash for you, or they molly for you, or something like that, so you can take the angle securely. The other thing that we can do from this B tunnel position, if we think they're not coming B, say like you flash tunnel and then there's nobody there, and then your Viper's saying like nobody here, there's no sound. The next thing that we can do is scale up to pillar then, and we can do that something like this, where we're watching this angle as we move down, but then once we get to around here, the top of the pillar wall will be revealed, so we need to check that as well. So just make sure nobody's jumping up there. They can really only jump up on this side. As long as we're checking that and we're making sure that we're not going to be peeked while that's happening, we can get to around this position where we can play a crossfire with somebody indoors. That's going to be really strong as well. And that's really it for defense. A lot of the time we're really just going to be fighting for shops, falling back to this position, and then falling back further to this position, or to yellow, or to stairs if we have to. Probably roughly an equal amount of the time we're also going to be fighting for mid, because mid is really strong on the map now with the new updates. Trying to get into a position where we can take crossfires, play off our teammates, just control the space and don't let anybody through. And if they do get through, then keep dogging. They're actually going through mid. Confirm so that you can help your teammates. And if you can't securely get through mid, we're going to be rotating safely so we can play retake B. And that's pretty much it for this playbook.